Welcome back to the Clever TV Eclipse Chapter Recap Series. I'm Jocelyn Davis, and today we'll take a look at Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Imprint. This chapter opens right where we left off in Chapter 4, with Jacob and Bella talking, and Bella expressing her concern for Jake. They revisit their favorite spot, and Bella starts firing off tons of questions, trying to make up for lost time. And this is when she learns that even Quill has turned and joined the pack, but unlike the other wolves, Quill's excited to be a part of the wolf pack. Bella seems shocked by the fact that the wolves in the pack actually really liked their double lives and all of the perks that came along with it. Jake admits that he and Sam were the only ones who ever even took issue with the whole thing. So then Bella asks how Sam even got to where he was, and Jake says it's a really long story, but Bella continues pushing him to tell her. So Jake starts right on in, regardless of the fact that he knows Sam will not like the risk he's taking. And this causes the conversation to segue into talking about the risk that Bella takes hanging out with Edward, and the best friends start arguing about the whole Jake and Edward issue. After a little fuming from Bella, Jacob apologizes and starts with a strange history behind his new life, and of course behind Sam's initial change. Even though Bella was super annoyed by their argument, she still really wants to know about the wolves. So Jake tells her how hard it was for Sam since he was the first one and all by himself. After Sam phased for the first time, he thought he was going insane and he couldn't even phase back for a few weeks. Sam's mom and Leah Clearwater even had the police looking for him. At the mention of Leah's name, Bella perks up and questions Jacob about her. Jacob tells Bella that Sam and Leah were high school sweethearts. Of course, Bella is super confused considering how much Sam loves Emily. He seems so engrossed in her, similar to how Edward looked at her. So Jake continues his story about Sam. He explains that the very first person to ever know what Sam was old Quil. After Sam shook the old man's hand, old Quil knew. It was the insanely high temperature of the wolf's skin. At this point, Jake gets even closer to Bella just to show her for himself. The older men in the town knew about the wolves because they had seen their own grandfathers change over when they were young. So the elder men met with Sam alone and explained what had happened to him. The wolves had returned because the Cullens had come back. Bella seems pained by this fact. She tries to tell Jake that the Cullens thought the wolves didn't exist and that they didn't do this on purpose. Jacob then goes on to tell Bella about the fact that he won't age. Of course, knowing Bella, she gets super upset by this fact and throws a small fit. Jacob tries to calm Bella down, but she still refuses to sit. So Jake goes on telling her that he will get old someday. He says that when the wolves get enough control to quit phasing, then they start aging. But he says that kind of restraint takes forever, and with all the vampires around, it's practically impossible. Plus, sort of jokingly, but seriously at the same time, Jake says that he already looks super old, and physically, he might as well be 25 or so. The wolf gene made him shoot up with a big-time growth spurt. Then Jacob finally gets back to telling Bella about Sam, which is clearly a touchy subject for Jacob. He explains that Sam sort of got a handle on his situation after he didn't feel alone, and then the older men were supporting him. But he knew he couldn't tell Leah because it was just too dangerous for her to know. They were trying to work things out. That was until Leah's cousin Emily came for a visit one weekend. Emily and Leah were close, almost like sisters. Then when Sam saw her, everything changed. Jacob asks if Bella's ever heard of imprinting, but she's totally clueless. Jake explains that when he saw Emily, he immediately knew she was his soulmate. It was like love at first sight, but more powerful, more absolute. Bella was a bit doubtful though. So when Sam broke Leah's heart, he hated the vampires even more for what they'd done to him and for making him do what he'd done to Leah. But Sam and Emily were perfect together. Even after being attacked by an unruly werewolf, i.e. Sam himself, Emily still loved him. After hurting Emily, Sam wanted to die, and Emily ended up being the one to do the comforting, and that was basically the start of their entire relationship. It was a very tragic story, and Bella had trouble making sense of the whole situation. Finally though, Bella asked if he'd imprinted, as in Jacob, and he says no, it was just Jared and Sam. Bella seems somewhat relieved. Her life was already just way too complicated and dramatic. Then Jacob reminds Bella that the wolves can read each other's minds when they're in the wolf form, so absolutely nothing is private. Just like how it is for Edward, then Bella explains that unlike everyone else's thoughts, Edward can't read hers. Then they sit in the sunshine for a bit, thinking about things in the past. They talk about the night they went to the movies together. It was actually Jake's last night as a human. Jake says he's glad he has a good memory, which makes Bella remember something else too. So she asked Jake what he was thinking about the previous Monday because she knew it was something that had to have really bothered Edward. So Jake tells her that he was remembering what she looked like when Sam found her after Edward's abandonment. Since Jake could read Sam's mind, he knew exactly what the whole scene looked like. Then he remembered what a mess she was the first times that she'd come to the res to hang out with him. Jacob wanted Edward to get a little idea of what he'd done to her and how he'd made her feel. Bella is so infuriated and attempts to leave until Jake promises not to do it again. But Bella realizes that she actually has to go anyways and promises to come back another time that Edward is away hunting. Of course, Jake has a little sarcastic comment about this one, but Bella puts her foot down at this point, saying that if she's going to come back to hang out with him, he needs to realize that she doesn't really care what either of them are. They are just Jacob, Bella, and Edward. So, of course, Jacob gives in. For the first time in a long time, things just seem right, and Bella promises to come back ASAP. So you guys, that is chapter 5, and here's our little question. Who do you think hates the vampires more, Sam or Jacob? And then of course, tell us why. Leave your answer right here in the comments section. And keep on coming back to Clever TV for more Eclipse chapter recaps. As you guys all know, a new show will make its debut every Saturday from now until the release date. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jocelyn Davis. We'll see you next time.